This is one part of a 4-part series of the best vehicles in every single spec in the game. The link to that playlist will be the top link in the description. For the sake of this list, I'm only going to be including cars that are currently obtainable, so no exclusive cars will be counted. Any exclusive cars that need to be brought up will be brought up at the end of the video. I also will not be including any budget options, as money should not be an issue in this game. If you have an issue with money, after this guide, I have a Bucks guide you can go and watch to earn enough money to get all the cars in this video. This also will not include the best cars for skills, as that was a separate guide I made a while ago. Instead, only including the best vehicles for their respective events. Also, this can sometimes vary based on each event, so it's always good practice to check the leaderboards to see what the people at the top are using. The best vehicles can sometimes change, so check the pinned comment for any updates on cars that have changed since I uploaded this video. If 3 or more cars have changed since I uploaded this video, the comment will link to a newer guide. And stick around to the very end of the video for all the tips, tricks, and hacks, and even what parts to use for every single spec.
3, 2, 1.
I'm glad we're starting with Powerboat, because it could not be any simpler. The Froscher 1414 Demon. Like, I know I'm not going to be talking about skills primarily in this video because skills is a different video, but if you want boy smashing, Froscher 1414 Demon. If you want slaloms, Froscher 1414 Demon. Uber Dam 1414 Demon. Any other kind of powerboat race, 1414 Demon. If you want longer races, it's the Froscher. If you want shorter races, it's the Froscher. If you want any single thing that involves boats and powerboats, the Froscher 1414 Demon is your one go-to only boat that you should really care about in the game. It is insane just how good this thing is compared to everything else.
3, 2, 1.
Now in Touring Car, the standout option is most definitely the Renault RS01. Ever since this car was added, it is by far the best touring car in the spec. It topples everything else in the spec, and if you want to buy the best touring car in the game, this is the car you should go with. It balances everything perfectly. It carries so much speed through turns, it's insane. There is a few other options. How the Lamborghini Gallardo is a close second, but it's one of those situations where it's a close second to the point that you might as well just get the Renault RS instead. Perhaps even an honorable mention. But for some races, the Porsche 935 Coupe Baby is also a good option. It depends on the race, but this thing has a different handling model, but for its handling model, it is one of the better cars in Touring Car. So really, your two headbutting cars are the Renault RS01 and the Coupe Baby, but out of those two, the universal best touring car is still the Renault RS01. And the last thing to mention for touring car is touring car bikes. This one is a little bit more simple, as it's just the Panigale R, the Ducati Panigale R. There is a couple of exploits depending on the race where you jump over some walls and then skip shortcuts and checkpoints and whatnot, but those are only on specific races, so you're still better off using a car. But if you want to use a bike in touring car, the best option is most definitely the Panigale R. It performs the best on most races with the best turning, handling, speed, etc. all combined, putting it at the top of the touring car bike spec. Or well, the touring car motorbike edition.
3, 2, 1.
Air Race is a weird one, and this is similar to how Drift was, because there's options for normal Air Race events, and then there's an exploit in Air Race events as well. But for normal air racing, I would most definitely recommend over everything the Wacko Aircraft Corp Wacko YMF 5D Super. It's the best air race plane for just playing events, normally trying to get as fast as you can. And the exploit type thing is just doing Snap 90s the entire run with specific parts that I don't actually have a guide on this because I can't even do this. And it's a very complicated method to learn. I'll have a video and who that video is by on screen right now. But yeah, I'll show you the parts for it. But the best for that method is the ZAI Zivco Edge for the tricky snaps method. But overall, the Wacko is the best, especially considering I don't have a guide for the air race exploit. It's been a bit convoluted, so I will say, Wacko. Simple as that, buy that thing.
3, 2, 1.
And finally, Alpha Gran Prix. This one is another simple one as it's the KTM Expo R. This is the best car in Alpha Gran Prix. The idea of a track day car being the best in an F1 spec against actual F1 cars, yeah, that's pretty much as dumb as you'd think it would be. But regardless of that fact, the Expo R is most definitely, definitively, the best car in the Alpha Gran Prix spec. It should be the first one you save up for, the first one you buy, and really the only one you need. Remember, the playlists to all of the best cars in every spec will be in the description, so remember to check that out. And here's where I'm going to explain all the parts and a couple of exclusive cars that are really good as well. As far as exclusive cars are concerned, the only one to bring up is from US Speed Tour Episode 1, the KTM Expo Spear Racing Edition. It is very good and on some tracks better than its non-spear racing counterpart. If you own this thing, you're better off using this thing over the other version. Again, another point of contention in the community, just like the Nighthawk edition, as not only does it introduce a pay-to-win aspect, but also an aspect of can't get it anymore. Moving on to parts for Powerboat, you want to be using pure and refill speed on a full Nitrochemist set. And this doesn't change at all really, as that's exactly what you want to be using for both Touring Car and Alpha Gran Prix. All three of those are pure and refill speed, the simple racing build of parts. However, for Air Race, what you want to be using is pure and gateway. This increases your nitro power and how much your nitro refills every time you go through a gate. And for the tricky method, you want to be using pure and tricky. I currently only have a gateway set as I was trying the method and not fully going for it. But once you're set on the method, you want to be using pure and tricky and perhaps a little bit of frenetic. I'm not very well versed in this method, but I can kind of describe it. Essentially, what happens is you hold down nitro the entire run, and as you do stunts, your nitro will refill. So you're doing stunts the entire run, essentially. So your nitro just keeps ticking up while you do snap 90s. So essentially, you're nitroing the entire time with pure, with frenetic, which increases nitro power per second. So if you're using it for a lot of seconds, you're going very, very fast. It's maybe it's just me, but it was a very hard method to grasp, at least. Smooth stretched asphalt tires. They are vanity tires that actually improve the handling of your vehicle and make them easier to handle. I made a full in-depth look video on that as well. Also, speaking of all the different videos from this that will be in the description, the Bucks guide, a bunch of different methods for the best ways to earn money in the crew too. Also, a skills guide, which was an in-depth look at every single skill in the game, where I described how to play them, how to max out the points on them, and gave like a full rundown on every single one. So remember, the Porsche 1414 Demon, the Renault RS01, the Wacko, and the KTM Expo R. Make sure to check out the other videos in this series. The playlist link is in the description. Thank you to popular members. A special thank you to famous members in a bit.